How can I know if I can learn Greek? In this video, we're going to answer this question by showing you that if you can do the following 3 things, you can learn to read the Greek New Testament fluently. Hi, I'm Daryl Burling from Master New Testament Greek, and each week I help people learn how to read the New Testament and just give you help and encouragement along the way as you do that. If that sounds interesting to you, hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell afterwards to make sure you're notified when I release new videos. So how can I know if I can learn Greek? Well, it depends a little bit on where you're at, but we're going to break this down in 2 different parts. First of all, we're going to look at the different stages of Greek and the time requirements required for each one. And then we're going to look at the habit requirements required to go all the way to full fluency. And these habit requirements apply to you whether you're a beginner or whether you're advanced, but the amount of time that you will need to spend for each different level is going to vary a little bit. And there are really 3 levels when people come to learn Greek. First up, you've either never learned Greek before, in which case you're a total beginner. Or maybe you've learned just a little bit, but never have finished beginning Greek. And so that would be a beginning Greek person. The second group would be people who have learned Greek in the past but have forgotten and really need to refresh their Greek. And the third group is people who are kind of already doing Greek on a day-by-day basis, and they really just need to go from wherever they are now all the way to full fluency. And for each of these 3 different groups, there are different time requirements. And so let's go through those very briefly, because this will help you to recognize whether you are going to be able to learn Greek or not. First up, let's talk about the time requirements. Beginning Greek is really the most time-consuming part of the whole journey to mastery of the Greek New Testament. This is where you spend the most time. And so typically, for people who are coming into Greek for the first time, have never learned Greek, I normally recommend that they're going to need to take 30 to 60 minutes on a day-by-day basis, 5 days a week, to be able to learn Greek. 30 to 60 minutes, 5 days a week. Now, that may seem like a lot, but you don't necessarily have to spend all of that time in one block. So you can spend a little bit of time in the morning, a little bit in the middle of the day, and a little bit in the evening as well. People mix it up and use different approaches. Use whatever approach works for you. And with that time, you're going to be really doing 3 things. You're going to be working on your vocabulary, you're going to be doing translation, and you're going to be mastering the basic forms. And we'll talk more about those 3 things in just a moment. Now, the important thing here is that you cannot skimp on time at this point. Now, this does not mean that everybody needs 60 minutes or more. Right? Some people can do this in 30 minutes a day for 5 days a week. Some people need a bit more time, and that's fine. Whatever your learning style and however the Lord has created you, that's okay. Just the key thing here is you cannot skimp on time. You need to be able to put aside, I think, up to an hour a day for 5 days a week. Now, if you're in the intermediate Greek stage, it's not going to take you anywhere near as long. You're going to do pretty much the same things as you're going to do in beginning Greek, but you're not going to take as long because you already know the basics, and it's really just going to come back to you. You're refreshing those neural pathways in your brain to help you to remember how the Greek language works. And so in that case, it's going to take somewhere between 15 and 30 minutes a day. For 5 days a week. So it's not going to be anywhere near as much time. And once you're really through that, then the amount of time you need to spend as an intermediate Greek person is going to be somewhere between 10 to 20 minutes a day minimum, and then up to as long as you really want to spend. And really at this stage, what you're really focusing on is growing your vocabulary and reading. And this is where you really get the benefit of the work you've done previously. The second part of learning the Greek New Testament, and the second part of the answer of can I actually do this apart from the time, is can you do these 3 things? In other words, there are 3 core habits that you need to build into your life to be able to master Greek. They don't take a lot of time. They're not particularly difficult necessarily, but these 3 things. So if you can do these 3 things, then you can go from where you are now all the way to full fluency of the Greek New Testament. Doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight. It may not happen in a year. It may not happen in 4 years. It may take longer than that. But for most people, you can do this in around 4 years if you have these 3 habits in place. And the first habit really is just parsing practice. Now, as time goes on, you need less and less practice doing the parsing. However, what I've found is that parsing tends to be one of those things that you do tend to forget. particularly at the beginning stages if you're not regularly going over it. And so there's two ways to manage your parsing. One is you can use one of the parsing apps that are available on the website today, and there's loads of these, and I'll leave a link to a couple in the notes below. The second one is that you just get sheets of blank sheets from the grammar that you're using, and you just fill them in over and over again. And you can do this either on your tablet, your iPad, using something like Notability, or you can simply use old pieces of paper you've only printed on one side, stick them in the printer for the other side, and print on the back side, and then just fill them in over and over and over again. This is kind of an old school way of doing it, but it's very effective. And as you're filling it in, say the words, say the pieces you're writing as well as the same time as you're writing, because that really, those extra sensory uses will really help you as well. The second piece of this is on top of practicing your parsing, and again, as you go on, you'll need to do that less and less, is to review vocabulary. And this is something that you'll have to do for some time, because really there's just a lot of words to learn. And of course, you don't have to, if you're just going to use a reader's Bible, you don't have to worry about this so much at all, but you really are going to miss out on the benefits of knowing Greek if you're dependent on tools. And so I encourage you not to be dependent on tools. So to master the vocabulary, don't use physical cards. They're just going to slow you down. They're difficult to manage. It's just going to be really, really hard. Instead, use a flashcards app. And there are really, the one I recommend is Flashcards Deluxe. Some people also like Anki, and that works pretty well. It's got, you can use it on your desktop or whatever, and that's great. So the nice thing about these is they're more intelligent. They're going to give you words to review based on how long since you last reviewed it, and it's all automatic. So you don't have to worry about when you last reviewed it. The app is going to take care of that for you. So this is going to reduce the amount of time you spend reviewing vocabulary significantly, and it's also going to make it much easier. And on top of that, words that you know well, it pushes those out, so you don't have to review them anywhere near as often. So again, this is just a really intelligent and helpful way of reviewing vocabulary, and it's just a daily habit. It doesn't take a lot of time. In fact, you can do this 2 or 3 times a day for 5 minutes at a time, and you'll pretty much manage all that you need to know. Of course, while you're learning new words, a lot of new words anyway, while you're learning a lot of new words, you're still going to be doing a little bit more than that. But once you've got those new words down within a day or two of learning them, you'll find that you're not looking at those anywhere near as much. And so that's a simple but really effective habit that you need to build to be able to read the Greek New Testament. This doesn't matter whether you're a beginner or you're going on to master more words. Vocabulary is part of the deal. So if you can make those two things, first of all, practicing your parsing on a daily basis, at least to start with, and then reviewing vocabulary for 10 to 20 minutes a day throughout the day, and little stints throughout the day, those two things will really give you a huge heads up. And then the last thing is simply be reading the text. And here's what I recommend. There's a good chance that you're already doing a devotional time every day. So read the text as part of that devotional time. So if you can do these 3 things, practicing your parsing, reviewing vocabulary, and reading Greek texts, as part of your devotional reading, then you can read the Greek New Testament. Again, it's not going to be in a month or 2 months, but you can enjoy the process, even as you're actually learning the language itself. So if you can do those 3 things, you can master the text of the Greek New Testament. So can you do those things? Can you spend 10 minutes a day practicing parsing? Can you spend 5 to 10 minutes at a time, 2 to 3 times throughout the day, reviewing vocabulary? Can you spend 10 minutes in the morning reading some Greek that you can actually read and understand? So if you can, then you can master the Greek of the New Testament. One more thing that I just want to give you, just as part of this, think small. One of the challenges that we have is when we think about blocks of time, is we think about how much time there is, and we never start. That amount of time will overwhelm us. So here's what I encourage you to do. Think small. Don't think I'm going to review my vocabulary for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, because that's going to be overwhelming. Think I'm going to review 3 words or 2 words or even just 1 word. And while you're there, why not just do 1 more and 1 more? But all you're doing is you're committing yourself to one little task, and then letting that little task give you a little bit more momentum to complete a little bit more. And so don't think big, think small. When you're building habits, you want to think small. So say to yourself, I'm just going to review a word or 2 or 3. And then just build on that, right? Don't worry about how long you do it for. Focus on just starting to do 1 or 2 things. Read a verse in the morning. rather than a whole bunch of ones, and then just, well, maybe I should just read the next one as well, and maybe the next one after that. Or practice parsing. I'm just going to review 2 or 3 words just to get myself thinking in that frame of mind. Well, that's great. That's all you need to do, 2 or 3 words. And while you're there, maybe just do 1 or 2 more and, build it up into something else. But if you just get yourself into the habit of making it something you can do, then you will be able to do this. So here's the question I want for you. Which of these sounds the least exciting to you? Which one of these puts you off? Which one of these 3 habits, practicing parsing, reviewing vocabulary, or reading text, which one of these is the least appealing to you? Let me know in the comments below, because that will help me to think through how can I encourage you in those tasks as well. So let me know in the comments below, and I look forward to interacting with you there. If you're interested in mastering the Greek of the New Testament, I want to encourage you to go to masterntgreek.com/roadmap, and there you can download my free roadmap to mastery, and this will lay out all of these tips like this and many more that will just help you go from wherever you are now all the way to full fluency of the Greek language. So masterntgreek.com/roadmap, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. See you soon.